Hello, everybody. Hope you're having an amazing day today. My name is Steve. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Today, I'm going to be reacting to Experience a Quintessential British Afternoon Tea. You know, I've been on this journey for quite some time now, but I realize I have never learned about the time-honored tradition of British afternoon tea. You know, I understand that you guys in the UK tend to drink quite a bit more tea than we do here in the US, but I'm under the impression that a British afternoon tea is much more complicated, and there's a lot more to it than just simply grabbing a cup of tea and drinking. And so I came across this video, and it just looks like a really good video to kind of explain what exactly happens during your typical British afternoon tea. This is taking place in some sort of a department store within London. Actually, it says it in the description. Let's see, what's it called? Visit Fortnum and Mason Department Store. And this is going to be a step-by-step primer on what to expect during a typical British afternoon tea. And so I think this is exactly what I'm looking for to kind of give me a good idea of what you guys experience when you have a British afternoon tea. I hope he also explains kind of, do you guys generally have this exact type of British afternoon tea on a regular basis? Or is this something that happens, you know, just every once in a while? But anyways, guys, I have no idea what to expect here. This will be the first time I'm learning anything at all about really what happens surrounding tea within the UK. But obviously, I understand that tea is a huge deal in the UK. And so this is definitely something that I need to explore, you know, to really understand the British culture quite a bit more. So anyways, guys, enough rambling. Let's go ahead and dive in and check out a quintessential British afternoon tea.
This is all about the art of afternoon tea.
The art of afternoon tea.
British,
wow.
As well as what to expect on the menu, and a few hints and tips on how to get the very best out of this national obsession.
This looks like a really nice department store.
Tea was discovered, so the story goes, back in China around 2737 BC. The Emperor Shennong was resting in the shade of the Camellia sinensis tree when a leaf fluttered down into his cup of hot water. This small leaf went on to conquer the world. Afternoon tea is usually taken around 4 or 5 o'clock.
Oh, wow. That's quite a bit later than I was thinking. I was thinking you probably did afternoon tea maybe 2 or 3.
The first being, of course, tea. Although many people use tea bags, it's always best to use fresh brewed loose leaf, usually an Indian or Chinese blend, to get the best flavour. There's a vast range of tea from single estate to blends, but here are some of the many kinds served at Fortnum's where we are today.
Oh, wow. So you have quite a few different teas to choose from. So if you're in your own house doing a British afternoon tea with guests, or maybe going out to a department store like this and having a British afternoon tea, do you generally have a large assortment of different teas? Right here, I see 4 different types, but I'm really curious, what's it like to put milk, like they just showed, into tea? I noticed that it kind of looks a little bit like coffee a bit, and I'm wondering what does that taste like? I guess it kind of gives the tea a bit of a creaminess to it. I personally have never really tried hot tea. You know, I've done like, you know, hot herbal tea, which I do enjoy from time to time for like sleeping or whatever, but I've never done actually the type of teas you probably drink on a regular basis. I've never had those hot. I've tried, you know, iced tea, which is pretty much all anyone I know that drinks tea drinks. And I personally just don't like iced tea. We usually do sweet iced tea. Obviously, a lot of people know that in the southern states of the US mainly. And I personally, I've never liked that version of tea. And so I've just never been someone who has drank tea because I just don't like what I've tasted for the most part. So I'm very curious, and I'd like to try a British afternoon tea, you know, when I come over and kind of have this a little experience, try milk in my tea and try a few different types. That'd be very interesting to see if I actually do like the type of teas you guys drink over there. Anyways, let's continue.
White peony king tea, Nanping yellow bud tea, finest Gukara tea, royal blend tea. Then the cakes, of course. A Bakewell tart perhaps, or a lemon drizzle cake.
Oh, wow.
Scones are also...
Hold on. I want to see that cake again. What was that called? That looked delicious. Hold on.
Then the cakes, of course. A Bakewell tart, perhaps, or
a tart of some sort, I think is what he said. That looks good. So you guys have cake with your tea.
lemon drizzle cake.
That looks good too.
Scones are also a must. Light, golden and fluffy, slathered with clotted cream and jam.
Oh my God. Oh, that looks good.
And sandwiches. The
What?
crust cut off, filled with smoked salmon, chicken, cucumber, ham and cheese, or egg mayonnaise.
Hold up. You guys have all this at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon? I mean, is this dinner? No, it's not. I know it's not dinner, but it's like you're having tea. That's cool with some milk in it maybe or whatever. But then you're having cookies or scones, cakes, sandwiches. Like it sounds like this would be lunch. I did not know you guys had this much with your tea. I knew maybe you had like some kind of cookie or something, but I didn't know you actually potentially had cake and sandwiches. That is much different than what I was expecting.
One of the things that defines this tradition and makes it
wow.
so celebrated
Hold on.
is its aesthetic.
Hold on. Wow. That is such a beautiful table setting. I'm definitely not the fancy table setting type of guy. I'm just not, but I can definitely appreciate it. It's not something that I personally would, spend the time doing. I'm just not into that thing myself, but I absolutely appreciate the look of this. And I think it will be fun to kind of experience something like this every once in a while. I think my wife would be into kind of creating a setting like this though.
Appeal, a chance to bring out the good china.
Wow, dude.
The first teapot can be traced back to the 16th century in Yixing, China, made of porous, unglazed clay, but the art of the teapot is as rich as it is varied. And here's Dr. Andrea Tanner, the archivist at Fortnum Mason, to give you a bit more background.
The what?
Whether you drank tea or whether you didn't, the chief bridesmaid had to give you a tea set as a wedding present.
That looked like
Brought
vodka.
out
No, it
now
wasn't. But
from time to time and
what was
used.
that?
And it's fun. If you have something beautiful, isn't it lovely to use it? But if you haven't got something beautiful, it doesn't matter. You start with the accoutrements, I suppose, a milk jug and a sugar bowl. If you have loose tea, a tea strainer and a holder for the tea strainer, a china cup, saucer and tea plate, knives and forks, perhaps a cake fork, preserve spoons if you happen to have them, otherwise teaspoons work perfectly well.
Wow, hold on. I want to take all this in for a second. Wow, there's a lot to this. A lot to this. One thing I want to ask you guys. So I know that this china cup and saucer tea plate type deal here, I know that tends to be what I picture from when I've seen, I guess on movies or whatnot, when I've seen British people drinking tea. It's just kind of what kind of maybe what the Queen drinks tea from or whatnot. I'm curious, how many of you that have tea on a regular basis use some kind of like china cup like this versus just like your more modern like coffee mug, like just a mug versus like a saucer cup like this, or I don't even know. I guess it's called a china cup is what they say here. I'm just curious, because I know a regular coffee mug seems to be quite a bit larger than this. And so I'm curious how many go for the like regular little like coffee mug, or maybe you guys would call it a tea mug, than this kind of smaller cup here. Wow, man.
Well,
Cake fork.
With the table laid, the ceremony can begin. And how to make the perfect cup of tea? Well, the tea should brew in the pot for around 3 to 5 minutes for black tea, which is the most popular form of tea, and poured through a strainer into the cup to ensure no loose leaves are in the final drink. Add milk and sugar as you wish, but it's best to avoid milk with green teas.
Huh.
Buddhist monks helped spread tea around Asia, while the British brought it to India. Now, this part of tea's history is closely entwined with empire, colonialism, greed, injustice, and war. with the East India Company, one of the
Heard
first
of that.
major tea traders, both rapacious and entirely unregulated.
Okay, is the East India Tea Company worth me checking out? Let me know in the comments, guys, because I've heard of it, and I think it may be something that I might find interesting, the history behind that, because I think it's a huge tea company, right? Like, I mean, the biggest in the world or something like, I don't know. For some reason, I know that name, and I know it's a huge deal for some reason.
It began really just in the homes of the aristocracy. You had to be rich in order to enjoy tea in the 18th to 19th centuries. It was a huge employer across what became the British Empire. All tea, when Fortnum Mason opened, was grown in China. By 1837, it was grown in India, from the late 19th century in Africa. It gave employment. It has to be said, a lot of that employment was indentured labour, and it's something that tea growers, tea drinkers, tea blenders, tea sellers have to acknowledge, and it's something that we have to deal with, and we have to deal with it in a very serious way.
But despite its murky history, tea remains Britain's most popular drink, with an estimated 100 million cups being drunk every single day.
100 million cups a day? Wow. I mean, you guys in the UK have roughly, I don't know the exact population, 60 million people. That's including kids and everybody of all age groups. And you drink 100 million cups a day. I mean, like that's incredible. That's a lot of tea. Wow. What is that? Man,
when you go to a grand hotel or restaurant,
look at the artwork with that
is
food,
every
man.
bit as essential as the actual tea, from beautiful cake stands to pretty napkins and tablecloths.
I think our ancestors would have been horrified at that amount of indulgence.
Oh man, it looks good.
In Victorian and Edwardian times, you would have had something called seed cake, which had caraway seeds in it. You might have had a slice of Madeira, so rather a plain, dry cake, some fruit cake, the great variety of tiny little cakes, which are really influenced by French and Austro-Hungarian bakers, don't really come in until the 1960s and 1970s. You might have been a little bit disappointed with what you would have had in Edwardian times.
A debate still rages in England as to which order you should put the jam and clotted cream on your scone. And remember, scone like gone, not scone like home. Anyway, in Cornwall, they believe the jam should go on first, followed by the
scone. I probably can't say it properly. My accent is just won't let me really say that easily. Scone. I don't know. But the food looks amazing. I mean, like, you see the artwork that was involved in those cookies or whatever. How amazing are the people who create those desserts? They are very skilled.
The clotted cream. In Devon, it's the other way around. As to my view, well, I keep that very much to myself because I really do not want to get in the middle of a scone war. There's a lot of chat about tea etiquette, but really it's all about observing basic good manners and nothing more. When the tradition started, it was a rather more formal affair. Sometime in the mid-19th century, Anna, Duchess of Bedford, a lifelong friend of Queen Victoria, felt a sinking feeling in the mid-afternoon. So asked a servant to bring her tea, along with bread and butter and a slice of cake. She then started to invite her friends, and a British institution was born. Okay,
he said started as a more formal thing. This looks really formal to me, like extremely formal. Am I missing something? Is this anyway? Wow. Okay.
In a tea room in Edwardian times, it would have been quite a different affair. The ladies would have worn tea gowns. These were dresses
that's what they mean by formal, the clothing.
Created for having afternoon tea, and they were tea coloured. I don't know if that's because they were complimenting the tea or they were worried if they spilt any. Nowadays, we don't wear specific clothes.
One tradition which still stands, however, is the hostess pouring the tea. And be sure to take your time. Afternoon tea is about pleasure and stepping away from the daily grind, taking a break from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. An escape, a moment of peace, a deeply civilized experience.
Wow. There is so much more to a British afternoon tea than I ever imagined. Do you guys, is this what it always looks like, or is it a little bit less formal than this? This looked like a really nice department store. So I'm guessing that at your average house, this is not what you're going to see. Although I think you will see maybe some scones or maybe some other sort of cookie or something like that. Or maybe like some sort of maybe a sandwich. I don't know. But I find it interesting that this was meant to be sort of a mid-afternoon pick-me-up, but they're saying that this usually happens at 4 or 5. That seems really late. This seems like the type of thing you would have like more 2 to 3, I would think, because that seems like a good time to have a pick-me-up. But I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments. Do you do this every day? Well, I'm guessing most people don't because they go to work. So maybe this is something you do once a week, or maybe I think you guys drink a ton of tea every day. But I think something like this setup here, what we're seeing here, is probably something you only do every once in a while. And I'm guessing this is not always going to be this formal. But is this generally what happens, though? You have milk. You might switch up the tea sometimes. You'll have some different, cake or something like that with it. Do you usually have like different options for like the different foods? Like you have sandwiches and maybe cake or scones or other things all at the same time? Or is that something that would kind of be more rare like we're seeing here at this department store? But I don't know. This is really interesting, guys. A lot more to this than I thought. But one thing I noticed is just how nice this department store is. And I'll have to go back. It's Fortnum and Mason. Never heard of it, but it makes me want to check this place out and maybe some other department stores just to kind of see if this is like really high end or something. It looks like it's really high end. Let me know in the comments if that's the case. But anyways, guys, thought this was really interesting. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow me in my journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Until next time, guys. Peace.